Hey guys, it's Kasara, and today I'm going to be doing part 2 of my book Unhaul. So in part 2 of this unhaul, it's actually not going to be like a proper unhaul. I'm not actually going to be getting rid of these books. I'm going to be making them my wrapped books. So I'm going to be adding them to all of my wrapped books. For those of you who haven't seen my wrapped book challenge yet, it's giving these books one last chance before I unhaul these books. Yesterday's unhaul was all of the books that I'm actually going to be getting rid of, so I don't plan on reading these at all. The books that I talk about today are books that I'm going to be giving one more chance before I get rid of. So they're going to be a wrapped book, and every week I open up one of these wrapped books and give it a chance before unhauling it. And I've gotten some really good books this way, so I really like this challenge, so I'm going to continue doing it. So I have quite a few books in my latest set of books that were potentially going to be unhauls that are instead going to be giving a second chance and become one of my wrapped books. So for most of these books, they're books that I've owned for at least a year. Some of them I've owned for less than a year. For all of these books though, they're books that I just have no desire to pick up and I have no plans on reading within the next 12 months. The first book on this list is The Duke with the Dragon Tattoo by Kerrigan Byrne. This was a Christmas present that I got that it's just not the type of book that I would normally pick up. It was on my February TBR because it's obviously a historical romance novel, and I thought February with Valentine's Day and everything would be the best time to pick this up if I ever decided to pick it up, and I didn't. I didn't decide to read it in February. I was having like a bit of reading stuff in February, so I didn't end up reading a whole lot anyway, so I just definitely didn't get to this one, and I don't really see myself reading this within the next year or so, so it's gonna become one of my wrapped books, and hopefully I will get to that. The next book is Big Little Lies by Leanne Moriarty. I actually saw the TV show for this one, so I kind of spoiled myself for this one because I bought the book thinking that I was gonna read the book and then I'll watch the TV show, and that's kind of like how I like to do things. Like if I plan on watching a TV show, it's based off a book, I want to read the book first. But I didn't wait, and I just watched the TV show, and I really like the TV show. But I remember what happens in the TV show. It's a domestic thriller, so like there's really no point to read the book after you know what the twist is and everything. So I just haven't been feeling to pick up this book. But I've never read anything by Leanne Moriarty, and I want to read stuff by her, so this is the only book by her that I own, so I still want to give it a chance, but I just have no desire to pick it up because I already know what happens. The next book is The Rainmaker by John Grisham. I actually got this book at my library book sale. It was only $2, so I decided to pick it up because I've heard really good things about John Grisham, and I've specifically been recommended reading The Rainmaker, so that's why I picked this one up, but I just have no desire to read it. Like, I have zero desire to read it. I don't know if John Grisham will be an author that I want to read, so it's gonna become a wrapped book. Hopefully I'll end up getting to it, and hopefully I'll like it. The next book is The Wife Between Us by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekinen. I've heard mixed reviews about this book. Some people that I follow really like this book. Some people that I follow think it's just really generic and don't like this book. I don't know if I want to read it. It's a domestic thriller, and I've had like some good domestic thrillers that I've read. Recently I read Gone Girl and really loved it, but there are other domestic thrillers that I haven't liked as much, and I tend to like the more popular domestic thrillers, and I haven't heard that much about this one being popular, so I don't know if I really want to read this one. It's another book that I ended up picking up my library book sale for only $2, so like it was really cheap, but at the same time, I don't want to unhaul it without giving it a chance, so it's gonna become one of my wrapped books. The next one is The Shape of Water by Guillermo del Toro. This is a book that I got at Book Outlet. I've heard so many people talk about this book, and it won the Goodreads Choice Awards for Best Fantasy, apparently, and so I was interested in this book, but then I found out that it was a movie that was turned into a book as opposed to the other way around. Usually if it's a book that's turned into a movie, I'm like really interested in reading the book than watching the movie. If it's a movie turned into a book though, I'm way more inclined to just watch the movie than to pick up the book. And I honestly don't have that much inclination to watch the movie because it's not the type of movie that I would normally watch. It is the type of book that I might normally read though, which is weird if you think about it that way. There are a lot of books that I would read that I wouldn't watch if they were movies, but not the other way around. So I lost interest in this when I found out that it was adapted into a book rather than the other way around, but I did spend money on it, and I don't want to unhaul it without giving it a chance, so it's gonna become one of my wrapped books. The next book is The First 15 Lives of Harry August by Claire North. I decided to pick this book up because Emily from Books with Emily Fox really loved this book and has really recommended it to people who are new to sci-fi, and I still am interested in it, but I just find myself not picking it up at all. I do want to read it eventually, but I don't see myself reading it within the next year. So hopefully if I make it one of my wrapped books, I'll end up picking up and hopefully I will love it. The next book that is going to be one of my wrapped books is The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. This is a book I really don't know anything about, but so many people like this book, especially on Goodreads. Like when I put it on my like to be read on Goodreads and sorted by like number of ratings, there are so many people who have read this book. And I don't think I've ever heard of it before until I saw it on Book Outlet. So I don't know anything about this. I'm intrigued by it, but I have no desire to pick it up. It's just not something that I plan to read, something that I plan to put on my TBR. There's a good chance that I'll end up picking it up sooner if I put it as one of my wrapped books than if I just leave it on my shelf. So it's gonna become one of my wrapped books and maybe I'll pick it up, but I really have no desire to read it right now. So yeah, it's gonna be one of my wrapped books. The next book is Suspicion by Alexander Manier. This is a book that I bought at the dollar store. Like, I was just walking through the dollar store, there were books there, and this one caught my eye. I don't know anything about this. I've never heard about this author, but it was only $1, so I wanted to give it a shot, and I just never did. But I wanted to give it a shot before I unhaul it, so I'm gonna put it as one of my wrapped books, and hopefully I'll like it. The next book is The Queen of the Blood by Sarah Beth Durst, and if I'm being honest, I bought this book because of the cover. Like, I think the cover is so beautiful. I love the depth in the background where there's the trees and you could see like the buildings behind it. I absolutely love this cover, and I have read the first like chapter of this one for my try a chapter tag. It was good. It's the first chapter started out really good, but I still like never have a desire to pick this book up, and I do want to read it, but I just don't see myself picking it up on my own volition in the next year or so. So it's gonna be one of my wrapped books. Hopefully when I read it, I'll like it. If I don't, then I don't have a problem unhauling it either. I just don't really have that many feelings about it, but I think the cover is gorgeous. I think it's so beautiful, and I want to be able to keep this book mainly because of the cover. So yeah, it's gonna be one of my wrapped books. The next book is Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. This follows the same line of watching the show instead. I watched the movie of this one, obviously. I've heard the book is really good, so that's why I picked it up at my library book sale, but I just have no desire to actually pick up the book. So it's gonna be one of my wrapped books. Hopefully I will like it. I feel like I'll like it. I like the movie, so I don't see why I wouldn't like the book, but yes, I don't see myself picking this up on my own volition at all, so it's gonna become one of my wrapped books, and hopefully I'll get to it. The next book is Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. This is another book that I saw the movie first. I watched the movie. I actually really didn't like the movie. For books like this, sometimes the movies are really bad and the books are really good, so I still want to give the book a try, but I just have had no desire to pick it up. So it's gonna become one of my wrapped books, and hopefully I will get to it, and hopefully I will like it, because I have the other 2 books in the series on my shelf. So if I like this one, I'll read those, but if I don't like this one, then I might just unhaul the whole series. So yeah, hopefully I'll like it. The next book is The Cloud Roads by Martha Wells. This is a book that was actually on my January haul. I just haven't had a desire to pick it up since I hauled this book. I was really excited for more things by Martha Wells after the Murderbot Diaries, but I just haven't had the inclination to pick this one up. It's just not particularly interesting to me, but I do want to give it a try, but I don't see myself picking it up within the next year. So I'm going to make it one of my wrapped books, and hopefully I'll get to it that way. The next book is Fairest by Gail Carson Levine. I never read this book as a child, but I heard so many things about this book, so I bought this in hopes that I'll end up reading it, and then just had no desire to read it. So I want to read it, but at the same time, there are so many other books that I want to read more that I just don't see myself getting to this one. So I'm going to make it one of my wrapped books, and hopefully I'll get to it eventually. But if I don't, it's okay, and I will be fine with not reading it. The next book is Furthermore by Tahara Mafi. This one was recently featured in one of my videos in my intimidating TBR, because I bought this one because of the cover. I think it's just such a beautiful cover, and I've recently been getting more into middle grade books. But again, I just don't have any inclination to pick it up, but I don't want to get rid of it because I want to give it a try first, so it's going to be one of my wrapped books. The next book is A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula Le Guin. Ursula Le Guin is an author that I've really wanted to read. I bought this is the first book by her that I bought, actually, and I bought this book like years ago, like 5 or 6 years ago, and I've just never read it. I've just never gotten to it, and I don't really have a desire to get to it. Like, I haven't heard very many people talk about this series, even though it's a really popular series, so I want to read it, but at the same time, I just have no plans on reading it, so it's gonna be one of my wrapped books. Maybe I'll get to it, maybe I won't. Hopefully, if I do get to it, then hopefully I'll like it. The next book is The Star-Touched Queen by Roshni Chokshi. I bought this book last year hoping that I would love it. I never ended up reading it. The more I hear about this book, the less I kind of want to pick it up because there's not that many people that actually seem to like this book very much. But at the same time, I want to know what it's about. So like this is the book that I'm really torn on, and there's just a bunch of other books like in this same like category of book that I want to pick up more. So it's gonna be one of my wrapped books, so I'll give it another chance before I unhaul it. But I know there's a good chance that I'm not gonna like this book, and I just don't have any desire to pick it up because of that. The next book is I Believe in a Thing Called Love by Maureen Gu. I've heard a lot of great things about this book. I've never read this author before. It's a contemporary romance, and I generally don't pick up contemporary romances by authors that I've never read before, just in general, just because there's a few that I really like, and then other than that, it's not really a genre that I branch out in a lot. I like staying in my comfort zone in this genre. So I picked it up because I've heard a lot of great things about it, but I have no desire to actually read it because there's nothing about it that makes me reach for it. So instead of unhauling it, I'm gonna give it a last try, and hopefully I'll like it. Hopefully I'll get to it. And yeah, so it's gonna be one of my wrapped books also. The next book is Antidarkened by Kirsten White. I picked up this book partially because I really like the cover, and partially because I like the idea of this book, because it's a historical fiction in the Ottoman Empire, but it's kind of written like a fantasy book, except there's no magic or anything like that. So the idea of it seems really interesting to me, but my favorite thing about fantasy books is the magic, so it kind of isn't that interesting to me at the same time. It's another one of those books that like I feel like I might like, but I might also really hate. So it's gonna be one of my wrapped books because I want to give it a chance, but I just don't want to actually put it on a TBR, if that makes sense. The next book is Snow Like Ashes by Sarah Rash. I haven't heard very much about this book at all. I've seen this book everywhere, but I haven't heard anything about it, which makes me think that it's not as good as the marketing suggests. But I have the book. I want to give it a chance. It's YA fantasy. Those are very hit or miss for me, so I'll give it a chance, but I don't have high hopes for it, if that makes sense. So it's gonna be one of my wrapped books, and I will get to it eventually. The next book is Shatter Me by Tahara Mafi. This one actually I did start at some point last year. I started it and I got really annoyed by it because it's like one of those books that is like a fantasy or dystopian book, but it is really like a romance book in disguise. And it really, really annoyed me when I first picked it up. But I've come to like realize that there are moods that I'm in sometimes where I want to read those types of books. So which is why I ended up actually buying this book, because at the time I DNF'd it from my library, and this was just available on Book Outlet. There was a really great deal last year, like during the holiday season, so that's why I ended up picking it up. But I have had no desire to read this type of book since then. I have the first 3 books in the series, so I do want to give it a shot. I do want to try it and give it a shot, but at the same time, I just haven't been in the mood for anything like this, and I don't know if I ever will be. So it's gonna be one of my wrapped books. Hopefully I'll get to it and hopefully I'll like it, but I don't have high hopes for this one because I have DNF'd this one in the past. Last but not least, we have Children of the Sky by Guy Gabriel Kay. Guy Gabriel Kay is an author that I really, really want to get into. I really want to like Guy Gabriel Kay, but I just don't think this is the right book for me to read first. But at the same time, I just don't want to leave it on my shelf if I know that I'm not going to read it. So it's going to be one of my wrapped books so I can give myself a shot at reading this book. But at the same time, there are other books by him that I want to pick up first. So it's an author that I do really want to like, so I'll give myself a shot, but I don't see myself picking up this book anytime soon. So it's gonna become one of my wrapped books and I might get to it. This is kind of a weird video to make, but if you've read any of these books and you liked any of these books, let me know in the comments down below because I'm really interested in your thoughts on it. I don't really know that much about most of these books. I will be getting to these eventually in the next maybe longer than a year because I think I have more than 52 books that are wrapped right now. I may get to some of these within the next year or so, so hopefully I'll like them when I get to them. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. I post videos every Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday, so consider subscribing. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up to support my channel. All social media links are in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!